Hi, Anmol. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. My name is Sia. I'm a current student at Berkeley studying business and data science, and I wanted to hear a lot about what you're doing as an entrepreneur and everything that you're doing. If you'd like to introduce yourself, your name, your business, as well as your role in it, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, Anmol. I'm a like data science and econ major at Berkeley. In terms of my business, I run a company called Koy Strategy. I've been doing it for the last 2 years. We primarily do product testing for media companies. And yeah, I can give some more background in terms of like how I began and how I started it. But yeah.
That'd be great. Yeah, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and what kind of led you to become an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so for my background, I think the best way I would like give the segue into it. So in high school, I didn't do anything like related to entrepreneurship. And then when I came to college, I had the predicament of like having to pay for like some of my tuition. So I was like trying to figure out ways to do it. So I first started like interning at random places, but then like you soon realize like you can't make enough money to pay for like college
Yeah,
tuition through interning.
definitely.
So then I started doing real estate consulting for like basically companies in Dubai, real estate
Mhm.
companies. So like think like Sobha Realty. And the pain point that they have is that they need to like basically fill up their developments with expats from the US. So I would help these companies do that. And that was like my first like consulting engagement in order to like pay for college. So I did that my freshman spring, freshman summer.
Hmm.
And then my sophomore year, I met Cornell, who's like one of my like closest friends. And we both like really like movies. And then we just started talking about movies. And then we're like, what if we like did something in the movie space? So we just like over a weekend, we just like put up a website and then we started like cold emailing and reaching out to companies and telling them that like the unique edge that we had is that like, oh, we're students and we can like provide you insights on like what students like. And then from there, we like refined the value prop and like Koi was kind of born.
Okay, awesome. And then what was the value proposition that you kind of ended up with in the end?
Yeah, so it's helping media companies target Gen Z because the majority of media companies don't have people below the age of 25 working for them. So
Mhm.
we give them insights before they do mass product launches of what kids think.
Okay, awesome. So basically, you're saying that the problem that you were trying to solve is that media companies didn't have many people like in younger generations, and you kind of wanted to give them that edge.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Like that is like 100% like the unique prop. And I think the other interesting thing about it is that a lot of these media companies, they want to hire like a external organization because
Mhm.
if they hire like a younger group of individuals within their company in order to like build out their products, they also face the issue of not having experienced individuals. So that was also like our unique value prop of like, oh, hire us for 2 months. We'll give you like a bunch of insights through like focus groups, surveys, etc. But then you still don't have to like commit to like hiring like a
Yeah.
junior person.
Okay, that's awesome. That's honestly a really unique position. Like I would have never thought about it. That's really cool. And then what was your business model and like go-to-market strategy? Like how did you kind of organize the entire business as a whole?
Yeah. Okay. So this is like I'm like very passionate about the marketing or like the outreach side of things.
Uh-huh.
So the way that we did this is like cold emailing is like your most typical way of like getting contracts and like getting people and getting your product in front of people. But
Hmm.
what Cornell and I kind of did is like the differentiator in order for a consulting business to really work is retainer and it's like recurring revenue. So what we would do is we do engagements with companies and then we would ask to become an approved vendor
Okay.
for the company. So like if you go to NBC Universal, like they have a bunch of like sub companies. So they have like Fandango, they have Peacock,
Yeah.
etc. And
Hmm.
like I'll give an example with NBC Universal. So they're one of our clients and we became last year an approved vendor for them. So if we do any project within NBC Universal, we don't have to go through any like contractual agreement or like further like kind of like vetting processes. They
Yeah.
just like search up Koi within their like internal system and we can do a project with anyone, which is like super beneficial in order to like create like recurring revenue. So
Yeah.
that's been basically like the way that we do like our engagement. So we're like go go cold, do like a really good engagement, try to like make a really good impression, ask to become an approved vendor, and then from there go to like sub companies within the organization and then yeah.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so you have a really far outreach then, right? Because of how many different small vendors you can kind of go to within the same company.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. And then I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to ask like specifically, are there a couple of ventures or like a couple of specific factors you feel like made your business successful as a whole? Things that you did or things that within your business model that you feel like really made you successful?
Yeah, I think it's I think like the quote that me and Cornell kind of like live by is like volume negates luck. And
Hmm.
like if you just work enough and you just send enough emails or you just spend enough hours towards something, like you will be successful. And that was like the our mantra where like there were periods for like 2, 3 months where we would get like no leads or like not get much traction. But then if you just realize that like I'm not sure if you've seen the memes here of like the guy with the pickaxe who's like mining and like right
Oh
before
yeah,
he
yeah,
hits the diamonds he turns the other way. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
our
yeah.
that's our mentality of like you never know how close you are to like the
Yeah.
diamonds.
That's honestly a really good mentality too, because I feel like with recruitment, with like cold emailing, like even when I had like was looking for research too, I feel like I had to do like 200, 300 different emails, and like it was the
Exactly.
last person I ever emailed who actually started. So I feel like that's honestly such a good thing because I almost quit a bunch of times too. So that's a really good thing to hear too.
Yeah, you're
Um,
only like one positive reinforcement away from like being a success, which is like the
that's
coolest
so
thing.
true.
Yeah.
That's a very good mindset to have. That's honestly really cool. I also wanted to ask, were there any specific lessons that you feel like you learned or something that you would tell people who are trying to get into the entrepreneurship space? Things that you think that they might not have heard before or might not like know from the beginning?
Yeah. So okay, so I think one is like speed is like a very important thing in entrepreneurship. Like speed to action of just like if you have an idea, just spend like 2 hours, build it out, and just start doing outreach. Like that's like the number one like thing to just test out if something's working or not. So that's just like on entrepreneurship. But I think like the number one like advice that I would give if I was like giving advice to my younger self is like I think like you should be okay with like being very uncomfortable. And like the I like remember when I would my freshman year, I'm like 18 and a half and I'm like talking to like some executive at Sobha, like the real estate company in Dubai, and I was like my palms were like literally like sweating and like my laptop was like destroyed at the end of it. And it's like if you just do that uncomfortable like situation like several times, like nothing will like phase
Yeah.
you at the end of it.
Definitely. I heard this recently too. It was actually a TikTok and it was a celebrity and he was talking about it. He was like uncomfortable being uncomfortable is like the most like like the emotion that people feel the least and you need to feel it the most in order to get what you want to succeed. And
Austin Butler,
yeah, yeah,
embarrassment
yeah,
is
yeah.
on a like
It
is
was on
a
the
like
train.
emotion. Yes, on the
Yeah,
train by the guy
exactly. Oh,
interviewing him.
emotion.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And on that note too, I also wanted to ask from like you kind of touched on it a little bit too, but like what's like the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur? If you feel like it's like the being uncomfortable or is there something else too?
Yeah, I think it's being uncomfortable, but I think it's literally that like especially at Berkeley, there's like consulting, there's banking, there's product, there's suite, there's so many tracks, and like everyone's in a track and everyone's recruiting and everyone's doing so great with their lives. And like when you're building something or you're like pursuing entrepreneurship, like nothing is going to work immediately. And a lot of the time it's just you like throwing shit at a wall just to like see what sticks.
Mhm.
And I think it's something that like if you're able to just like cut out the noise and not feel bad about yourself because like everyone's making progress towards like oh like they got this job or they're doing this um then like you can succeed in entrepreneurship, but I would say that's the most difficult part of it. It's like
Definitely.
going towards a goal where there's not like a there's no metric of success.
Definitely, yeah. And on that note, that was basically all the questions I had. So thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it, and I loved hearing about your business.